Belgrade Fortress is situated in Belgrade, Serbia. We have a star fortress. The star fort form can be seen only from the sky. At the ground level, it is impossible to see the format of this fortress. So those that designed the site, which is extremely large, 60 hectares or 120 acres, could not have been able to verify if the design match the reality in the field, except if they have seen it from the sky. At the entrance, we have the map of this fortress and few pictures of the fortress. This is the map of the fortress. At the entrance, the fortress is now a large park. These are ancient lamps. The walls have an immense amount of red brick. Inner Stumble Gate. These are sections of the fort. This is the emblem of the empire, and what could have been here? Statue maybe? Between two walls there is a very large door. The brick is on the roof. How hard it is to keep the brick on the roof. We don't build it that way anymore. See the large entrance. These are the walls of the fortress. How large this be? Here we can see the mud flood is present in this picture. So the floor was deeper, at least half meter deeper in the past. So it's a mud flooded fortress or building. Reuse the functionality of the building is reused. It's a museum, but we don't build such large building anymore. Also, the doors are for taller people. Much taller than us. What was the initial functionality of these entrances? It's hard to imagine. Now we are inside the fortress. Pay attention to the antique technology that is in top of this building. There is a theory that this, these pointy buildings were used to collect static electricity in the past. This is a mausoleum of an Ottoman person. The age of the tree in this inside the fortress, few hundred years, shows that the fortress is extremely old, much older than a few hundred years that it's stated in the instruction or in the. Now we are going to see some of the walls. The walls are 1.5 meter high, so people lay down on the walls, and the length of the person is almost the length of the wall. So how much material and how much money and resources they needed to build it. This is the intersection of the Danube and Sava River. The Belgrade fortress was at the intersection of border of two empires, Ottoman Empire and Habsburg Empire. In the recorded history, the city was destroyed 47 times in the last 2000 years. The last time it was destroyed was in 1999, or heavily bombarded by NATO troops. These troops there is a history about this 1999 bombardment, about a Greek general that arrived on a cruise ship ordered by NATO, and when he arrived, he refused to give order to bombard the city. As a result, he was court-martialed. He went to jail because he refused to kill people, basically, under the NATO orders. NATO bombarded the city in 1999, but ONU was not agreeing. So why? Because Russian did not agree that Belgrade should be bombarded. They were bombarded anyway. I had a colleague in Toronto that lived during the NATO bombardment worked actually in the main government building. She was working in a TV station, and 18 of her colleagues were killed by this NATO bombardment. The generation that live now in Belgrade is very young, was born probably after the war and never encountered a war and hope never to do in their lifetime. So from this point we see the Danube River. We also see the format of the star fort without seeing actually the big picture of a star fort. We see only angles and the large, extremely large walls, thickness of the walls.
Una cerveza que quiero beber, dame
This we just saw buildings inside the fortress and the schematic of the existing remains of the fortress. The immensity of the fortress, it's very hard to imagine if you see just the Google picture or another picture of this fortress. 60 hectares of land. At one point, this fortress was used as a water reservoir for the people in Belgrade, apparently during Roman time. This building is a governmental building meant to preserve the historical remains of this place, historical society. This can be old funeral plaques. These three are old and beautiful. Antiquitech, wireless technology. We have to reverse engineer the knowledge that once have been known by the people of this planet. Mud flooded area of the fortress. Here we can see that the fortress was built on an older fortress. So we can see two type of materials, one older and one newer. So an old star fort and the new fortress built on the path of the old fortress. So we can see here thick walls. So a lot of material, a lot of money, and also a church was built later on. It's very impressive to actually walk through this old building. It's like walking through history. Large rooms for probably for large people, larger people that we are now. And the sky, The sky is all over Europe and North America. It's extremely polluted. Something is with this sky that it's not normal. The blue of the sky, it's missing. So you can see the dimension of the walls comparing to the cars. This is a parking lot between the walls of this fortress. The immensity of the fortress is hard to comprehend unless you are there. It was not only for a war or protection. That's my feeling. Again, we can see two types of construction in two different area, two different time periods, and there were no